Everyone, I wanted to make a video showcasing something really cool that'll make it really easy to develop Elixir Phoenix applications on your machine, whether you're on Windows or Mac, and that is using VS Code and remote dev containers. So let's go through a scenario here that I just recently went through to setting up a project. So here is a cool site that allows you to make a quick Phoenix boilerplate for your project. I have the link below on the video. It allows you to quickly scaffold up a project. So let's go with, let's go call it a super cool app. Super cool, forgot underscores. So we have a super cool app, and it allows you to quickly configure and generate a Phoenix application with a bunch of presets stuff. So we can have live view installed in here. We can decide we want to have Tailwind in our Phoenix project, what type of JavaScript library we want to use. So we'll just stick with Alpine, whether we want user authentication in our project, whether we want GraphQL in our project, a mailer, file uploading, and an admin system. And all we have to do to generate this is do the selections, click generate, and wait for it to build our boilerplate application. All right, so that took roughly 30 seconds to try to generate that. So let's go ahead and click the download boilerplate to get it download locally. So I unzip this project and put it in a demo folder in my documents folder on my Mac. It has a SHA in front of it for the generation. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make this simple and just do super cool app and open this up. And in here we should have all the fixins for a Phoenix application. So the challenges is that we have a Phoenix application, so depending on the Elixir version that we need to run, the Phoenix version we need to run, we need to install all those dependencies locally. But luckily, we have a solution for that I was just talking about a moment ago, and that is using Visual Studio Code with remote dev containers. So all we'll need to get this application up and running without having to worry about locally installing all the dependencies is to have VS Code installed, and also you need to have Docker installed locally. So just make sure to download Docker for desktop on your Mac or Windows machine or even Linux to get started. So let's go ahead and try opening up our project in VS Code. So I'm going to try going ahead and opening up a folder, and let's go into our documents demo folder and open up our super cool app as a project. So when we look in here, we have a project with Mix in our Mix EXS. Our dependency is Elixir 1.7, and our Phoenix dependency, if we scroll down to the bottom here, is 1.5.7. So typically we would have to go get the install script, try to install everything, depending on the computer that we're working on. But we can try to use the dev containers feature as part of VS Code. So in order to use remote dev container, we have to make sure to go and install the extension. So the extension is called remote container. So if we just go to the extension and we type in remote, we usually see it right there on the right here. It's the second option. So here is remote container. So this is our Phoenix. This allows us to open any folder or repository inside a Docker container and take advantage of Visual Studio full feature set. Okay, so I already have this installed on my computer. You should go ahead and try to give it an install too. And let's try using it. So how do we use this and open up our project in a remote container so it has all the dependency installed and we don't have to worry about anything installed locally? There's two ways we can get this to run. You can try to go and do the Command Shift P option and type in remote containers and the first option, add a development container configuration files. You can try doing that to add it to your project. A simpler route is just to click on the bottom left, and you should see as part of your remote containers is add development container configuration files here too. So let's go ahead and try clicking that. So you're presented with a bunch of different development containers. And by default, it has the most popular stuff like Node.js, Ubuntu, and different in development environments. But what we're going to want to do is we want to do show all definitions. We click on that, and we have plenty of definitions to go through for all sorts of development environments we want to do. Node, Dino, Kubernetes, Azure. We have C++, Java, Dart, Elm, and right here in the middle in the E's is Elixir Phoenix Node.js Postgres SQL container development Elixir Phoenix based application. So this is community driven, and I was lucky enough to contribute to this and get this deployed and get this for everyone to use. So let's go ahead and select that. So what did that do? So what that has done is that has added configuration files to our projects. So this opened up a dev container.json file, but we can find this, we'll find in our project that we have a new .dev container in our project. So if we open that up, we'll see the initial first opened dev container.json. And this is a configuration file to tell the remote container extension on VS Code how to run our application within a Docker environment. It comes pre-configured for with a Docker Compose, pointing to a Docker Compose, a couple extensions that you might need for when you're doing your Elixir development, port forwarding. There are comments to go into further details with this. If we go to our Docker Compose file that we're telling VS Code to run, over here in our Docker Compose file, we will see that this Docker Compose file is a standard Docker Compose that is going to set up two services to run as part of our application. There's the Elixir container, and then there's the DB container. So it already has Postgres, the latest Postgres in there, setting that up with the username and password. And then also for our Elixir container, it is setting up an Elixir container using what configurations we have in a Docker file and variables that we want to set for the versions of Elixir and Phoenix that are the dependencies for our project. So if we have an existing Elixir project that you want to bring into a remote dev container, you can easily configure the attributes here. So if you remember earlier, we took a look at our mix.exs file, and we were taking a look at what the dependencies were for our application. Elixir 1.7 and Phoenix 1.5.7. So what we can do is we can go into our Docker Compose file. We already have Phoenix 1.5.7 here, but what we're looking for Elixir is 1.7. So what are these variables doing exactly? These variables are being passed into the Docker file that builds our development environment. This Docker file is pretty involved here. Even I had trouble understanding it when I was first trying to contribute to this, but it uses these variables to go in and configure the installation of Elixir. So we can set the Phoenix version. It helps set and install the Phoenix version inside our containerized environment, and it also helps select the Docker container, the Docker image to run for the Elixir we're looking for. So all these scripts are setting up a development environment for us to function just like it would locally on our regular machines. So everything's already set up. All we had to do was change two things. So now let's actually try to get our app built and running within our remote container. So the easy way to do that is just click on the bottom left right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to just select reopen in container. So let's give that a click. So this process is going to be a little bit involved depending on the connections, your connection speed for the internet and how fast your computer is. Because what it's going to be doing is it's going to be downloading a Docker image, the one that you specified. In our case, it's going to be going and downloading version 1.7 of Elixir. It's going to run through that Docker file, running all those scripts to install dependencies like Node.js, And then it's going to install Phoenix and install all the dependencies, just like we would have to go through locally in order to make sure we have the right Node version, the right Phoenix version, the right Elixir version. And it's going to be doing that all on its own, all scripted beautifully. It can take a little bit, so this is a top opportunity to get up, go get some boba, go boil. It's cold out there, so go, make a cup of tea or something like that, and come back when it's all done. So let's wait until then. All right, and everything is done. So I was following on with the logs, and now we can see everything's done. Another indicator that things were basically finished is now we can see our files in here. So what this has done is that this has built that Docker file that we talked about, and then using the configurations, VS Code connected into the running dev container, the Elixir dev container, and opened up our terminal in there. So it looks kind of like we're running locally, but really we're inside our dev container. And you can easily see that right here on the bottom left, dev container, Elixir Phoenix, Node.js. And you can see right here, we're logged in as a VS Code, as the VS Code user, and we're inside a folder called workspace. And it already has it. So this is already pre-configured with the OMyZ shell. So for that, we should already have Node installed here. We should have Elixir installed here with the correct version 1.7.4, and we should already have Phoenix installed here too. So we have our finished project. So let's actually try setting up our application. So how do we get started with Phoenix? We need to just we can do mix steps get, but also we have a shortcut button that we can use, or a shortcut command we can use, which is setup. So let's try running mix setup. Don't mind these. So mix setup is going to try to fetch and compile all our dependencies. It's going to be running ecto setup to create our database, and then go and install all our node package dependencies for the UI. And hopefully from there we can just do mix phx server and get our server up and running and just see the hello world page that comes with our application. All right, so that took a little bit, but we have everything fully installed. So we ran the deps get, it ran the DB migration, and it went in and installed our node packages. So we are hopefully ready to get things started. So let's go ahead and see how our server is looking and see if we can get our application up and running. All right, so we ran phx server, and let's check our application at localhost 4000. And we have the application running, but we have some issues with the UI. So if we go back to our terminal, we can see some issues with the Tailwind Post CSS loader. And it turns out that this issue has to do with the Node version we're running. When we've chosen the Docker Compose file by default, it was set to Node 10. But our application requires a newer version of Node because of the dependencies that were installed. And also we're running on Elixir 1.7. That's pretty old. We should get the latest one. So updating your project and updating the dependencies to run your project is super easy with dev containers. All we have to do is change the version. So let's go to Elixir 1.11 and let's go to Node 14. And versus setting up configuration on a local machine, updating these dependencies on a dev container is as easy as a button click. So let's go ahead and kill this process, and how we can just rebuild our environment with all these new versions is, let's go ahead and click on the bottom left, and we can go to rebuild container. So this will, once we click this, it'll ask us to confirm restarting, yes. And this will rebuild the container, pulling in the new dependencies. So just like the first time it built it when it was with the configuration of 1.7 and Node 10, this will go look at the file, see that there is a new version specified for Elixir and a new version specified for Node, and it'll rebuild the entire development container environment. So this is also going to take a little bit of time. So let's just take a pause and wait until this is done. And after a little wait, our development container is pretty much done. We can see the files are being presented here, and we can see and edit files here. And all it's doing right now is just installing the extensions that we can use. So let's go ahead and double check our development container. So let's check the version of Elixir that we got running. So we're on 1.11.3. And let's go ahead and check the version of Node that we got running. And now we're on node 14. So just with 2 configuration changes and clicking a button, we're able to get a new environment set up running the dependencies that we're seeking. So now let's go ahead and try rebuilding our application with our new dependencies. So let's go ahead and do mix. Let's go ahead and get our deps again. And then let's go ahead and try updating our and reinstalling our node dependencies. So we'll go down into assets and run npm install. All right, our npm installation dependencies are done. Let's back out and let's go ahead and try seeing if mixphx server is going to be a little bit more successful this time with all our dependencies being updated. All right, so that took a little bit for Elixir to recompile our Phoenix application and for it to start up Webpack. But once it did, let's check it out. There's no more errors on the console. And let's swap over to the browser and we have a running application. So we went from generating an application that we've never ever ran before, downloaded it, launched it, added dev container configuration to it, updated a few dependencies for Elixir to upgrade the Elixir version and the Node version, and got it up and running in our container with Elixir, Node, and Postgres dependencies in there, along with the all-important Phoenix dependency. And we're able to get it all up and running without having to worry about downloading packages onto our machine, worrying about having a Postgres service and stuff like that. Everything is running within Docker, and it gets you up and running quickly so you can do exactly what you want to do, which is development. And the beautiful thing is as long as you have remote containers and VS Code and Docker installed on your machine, you can get this project running on your Windows, on your Mac, on your friend's Mac, on your friend's Windows machine, wherever you are. You can get it up and running really easily without having to worry about running a bunch of install scripts for Elixir, Erlang, Node, Postgres. It all just is self-contained within that container to get you up and running and developing really quickly. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I have the chance to make some more interesting videos. So until next time, have a good one.